What's up, everyone? And this is Anthony Kim again, and I'm here to share my interview with Bruce McDade, who is the superintendent in Manassas Park, Virginia. And we talk about just being yourself, how to present yourself, how to think about yourself, how to present yourself in work. And he really talks about just the importance of just bringing your whole self to work every day as he thinks about his life's journey. I think you'll find this conversation interesting, and I'll see you on the other side. Bruce, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation. And, I've been reading all of your newsletters and what's on your website and your communications to the community. And one thing that really struck me is just how different your tone is with the community you have there. And in particular, it's just very casual and some ways whimsical. There's a lot of references to music I found. And I know you've kind of developed your career at Manassas Park, and you've been there for a while. And so there's probably some comfort and less risk in doing something like this. But from your experience, what has been the impact of kind of taking a more casual approach to communications, but also at what point in your career did you say it was okay for you to do that?
Well, first of all, I'm an English major and I love to write. So when I sit down in front of the computer and I've got that blank screen in front of me, I feel a real sense of just an opportunity to share on a very personal level what's going through my mind. And I will say this, that it really took off back in March when, as a school division, we closed what we thought would be for 2 weeks, the last 2 weeks of March, which quickly moved into 3 weeks, which got us into spring break, which put us out for an entire month. And I thought that was, oh my gosh, that's going to be too long a time to be away from the students and the teachers. So I started to write a daily update to the entire school division on Monday, March the 16th. And I continued to do that every single day. In fact, some days early during the shutdown, it was twice a day. And I really enjoyed communicating with everybody because I didn't see them. The kids were gone, the teachers were gone. And I got a lot of positive responses to my daily updates, and it really kind of took off. And I just used it as an opportunity to connect with our community. It really crystallized into just a great way to be human and to show that you were there and that you cared.
For other leaders out there, and maybe even a first-year superintendent, at what point would you recommend that they start experimenting a little bit with communication and really bringing their whole self to the way they share information?
My advice to first-year superintendents and aspiring superintendents, in fact, all administrators, is you really need to be yourself from the get-go, from day one. Your teachers, your principals, your students need to see you as a real, live, caring human being. And if you show people that you care, and if you can do that in a personable way, it will come back to you tenfold. You can't take yourself too seriously either. And I think that's part of the grand plan as well. Just show folks that you're genuine, show folks that you care. Let people know that you like the Doobie Brothers. Let people know that you can quote James Taylor, Guns N' Roses, and put those into your updates. They really respond to those kinds of communication.
I think one of the things that we're finding with leaders that we've been talking to is, because of the way meetings have been stacked, the urgency of what's been going on, the time to reflect has been diminished quite a bit. And so do you find your communications to be reflective, and what has that actually meant in terms of you being successful at your work?
I find the process of writing to be very cathartic. Again, I'm an English major. My mother was an English major and an English teacher. So I have a love of the written word. And I think I can convey my thoughts clearly and concisely and accurately. And by doing so, that gives me a level of clarity and transparency, which is another byproduct of these daily communications. My stakeholders, the community, the teachers, and students, they feel like they're in the know because I tell them everything. And they appreciate the openness and the honesty. And I tell them when I don't know, I don't know.
I think one of the things that I've always run into, because I feel like I'm an early communicator as well, is sometimes when you communicate too often and frequently, people also get confused because you often have to change your mind, or you have incomplete information. And so it feels like there's a lot of indecisiveness, even though really you're just releasing information quickly. And so how do you juggle that balance?
That's always a consideration. You don't want to devolve into a situation where your readers are just rolling their eyes. Oh, here we go, more of the same or more boring stuff. And I think that's where the humor comes in. If I can lighten it up with an allusion to great literature, a great movie, a line from a song, something embedded in my text, people will find it and they'll comment on it. So you try to make it a little fun, a little crisp, a little different. So it's the art of just trying to make your communication relevant, upbeat, and fresh.
How can districts rethink about their uniqueness and to like really play that up so that they could differentiate themselves from other folks? And especially now with the pandemic and people also pulling kids out of schools and going to different types of educational environments, just showing that value, connecting the message, but also being really unique in the way you approach it does make it more memorable for folks.
Being unique has always been a focus of ours. We are a small school division in Northern Virginia. We are surrounded by some very large, affluent school divisions. In fact, Fairfax County, which is to our northeast, is the 10th largest school division in the country. And just north of us is Loudoun County, which is one of the wealthiest school divisions in the country. And we've got Prince William County next door, and they have close to 100,000 students. So when you're surrounded by these very large, notable school divisions, and you're trying to make a name for yourself, what can you do to be different? What can you do to be unique? The example that I used when we are recruiting sets us apart. We can't pay as well as other school divisions, so we have to offer something a little different. We have to offer an experience. And we believe that if we can convince the millennials that our experience is worth it for them to leave their homes and come to Northern Virginia and come to Manassas Park rather than those aforementioned other school divisions, we can personalize their experience. We can provide the human touch. We have programs in our school division that feed our disadvantaged families, and we offer the opportunity for these young educators to come and make a difference in Manassas Park. You can participate. You can help distribute food. You'll get to know your families more deeper. And the superintendent will be there. The administrative team will be there. So we feel that we've got to be different. We have to be unique. And that's always at the forefront when you're surrounded by some pretty high-powered neighbors for sure.
I think you're touching on this point that a lot of organizations are actually deep in kind of dealing with, especially now, which is the feeling of inclusion and belonging and having their voices heard. Especially since like most of our traditional policies in our organizations have been upended. Mm-hmm. So clearly that's so important. What do you envision will keep those kinds of routines in place so that, a year from now where you don't go back to old ways of doing things, like how can some of these things really be kept? Because it is going to be important that we retain our educator workforce, right? And we are in a lot of conditions right now. We're asking them to bend over backwards to deal with the condition. And it's easy for us to fall back to kind of traditional compliant behaviors.
We can never lose sight of the fact that whatever modality we find ourselves in, at the heart of the organization is the power of the classroom teacher. So we're in virtual right now. We're moving to a hybrid here sometime soon. And at some point, we'd like to have everybody back when conditions allow. But it's maintaining the humanness in us. The humanity cannot be lost. The technology is wonderful. We're having great success with it. But it's that human interaction, the human touch. I miss so very much being in the schools, talking to students. I miss my Friday afternoon handshakes with the kids. They miss seeing me. I have the good fortune of visiting classrooms, standing here at my desktop, and that can take you a long way. And it's great to talk to the kids, and they're always happy to see me, and I'm happy to see them. But at the end of the day, it's the human connectedness that we just cannot overlook. And whatever we can do to keep those bonds strong, those ties strong, is critically important.
Great. And I don't know, I guess to wrap up, I think what I wanted to leave the audience with is a practice or a inspiration from you around, as a leader, you got to take care of yourself. What would you suggest for other leaders to invest some time into self-care?
Well, I'm fortunate in that at our high school, we have a fitness center that's not being used because our students aren't allowed back in yet. So this has become my personal gymnasium. How lucky is that I can start my day in our high school gymnasium? Now, that's not going to last forever, but I have a nice routine where when I get up in the morning, I don't put on a suit. I put my gym clothes on and I drive into the high school and I work out there. So carving out a little bit of time for yourself in the morning to work out, to reflect, I think is a wonderful habit to get into. Continue to celebrate the good things that are going on, acknowledging the great work that our teachers are doing. Again, just finding time for yourself to do the things that you like to do. Don't take yourself too seriously. Be a little irreverent. Be wistful. Enjoy the moment. It's been a great ride.
So how was that for you guys? I think that Bruce really did a nice job talking about just being human and the humanness, being genuine, how to connect with people genuinely, and just things that you need to do for yourself to enjoy life. So as we go through the pandemic and just the changes in our lives and the uncertainty, I think he had some really solid tips that will allow us to endure some of the changes that we're experiencing every day. Peace.